I'm waiting for the recording to start. Here we go. You are recording now. Very good afternoon, everyone, and I'll pass my chair to Mark. Mark, hello.
Hi, Kuba. I think you asked me to sort of give a summary of the year, as this was our last 60-minute sesh before the year end. Is that right?
That is correct, sir. Yes, please go ahead.
And you've kindly furnished me, as Kuba is always efficient with a list, because I didn't have a clue what all the things that we've done and looked at. Look, I think we can be brief. I've got an echo coming back. I think someone's got the. A lot of this was said at our annual general meeting, and which I think was very good. I think this year InterManager has found to a greater extent its confidence. It's found to a greater extent its legitimacy and relevance, and its voice. And I think that's really important. It's also broadened its constituency, not only in full members and full membership, but also importantly in its associated members, which are sometimes the biggest contributors. And I think as a networking platform and as a sounding board, having a vibrant associate membership is almost is as important as full membership and the more regular manager type member. I think we provide as an association now a more inclusive service, and indeed we're getting to a better service. I still think there's a lot of work to do by all of us to improve the service that we give our membership. And lastly, I think we have found our ambition and our appetite going forward. And I think it's being recognised by those managers, and we'll come to that in a minute, since Captain Adami is on board, and hopefully he can confirm this. We found our ambition and appetite for the role that we see important that we play as an association. Just cantering through what we have done, I think we've been very vociferous in the whole crew change debate, international debate about key worker status, etc. We've been very vociferous on vaccinations, and whether we have in any way contributed to greater seafarer vaccinations by shaking the trees and rattling the cage, Lord alone only knows. But that's not the point. We didn't do it to be the hero, the white knight. We did it to stick our heads above the parapet and be counted, and hopefully get the message out there louder, and to a certain extent in a more unconventional way. And I think that has worked. We've backed many industry ideas, such as the oxygen medical supplies, the condensators on board vessels, which certainly from Colombia's experience shook us a number of times, that there weren't these concentrators, actually, and not condensators, oxygen concentrators on board, which could save lives. And we rallied our own platforms, our procurement platforms, to ensure that these could be provided at cost, at the cheapest cost. So really there's no excuse now for vessels not to have them where they can save lives. We've continued our mainly through Kuba's efforts, our position against criminalization of seafarers, and we've seen this Captain Lesota being released from jail in Mexico, and that's just one of the large number of efforts of Cuba behind the scenes to rally support and raise the awareness of these types of issues. We've had many of these 60-minute meetings, which I think they vary. Some are more interesting than others. Sometimes you can't make it, sometimes you can. It doesn't matter. But the point is that relevant issues are being discussed, and we're seeing associate members in particular coming forward with their interesting products. And I've certainly, Colombia has certainly established really good relations with some of the associate members that previously we just didn't have an idea existed, or if we did, what they precisely did, and I think that's a wonderful opportunity, a networking opportunity, and an attractive quality of being an associate member of this organization. So I think the 60 minutes make us feel more connected and allow for that interaction. We have chaired the Enclosed Space Committee on the IMO Human Element Industry Group. We're very active in the Industry Lifeboat Group. I think we've been, it says here, the custodian of the lifeboat accident statistics for the last 40 years. We had our 30-year anniversary this year, and which we celebrated at our AGM in Pisori. Had a really nice night there. Paddy has participated in the 13th IMO meeting and provide us with reports of that. I still think there is more work we can do in relation to our interaction with IMO and the relevance of IMO. I don't by saying that, I don't consider it irrelevant. I think we have to be realistic as to what the IMO is and what its mandate is, and not expect it to be a lobbyist for our industry, which it is not. It's a regulator, it's a legislator, and we've got to recognize that. We have a much greater presence in the press, sometimes for the good, sometimes for the bad, but I think the press is there to be used and is a very valuable outlet for our voice and is interested in our voice, and we should carry on and develop that even more. We are developing our general principles and code of conduct and assessment mechanism, and that is progressing, and hopefully by the end of this year we will have the last iteration, which will be spit and polished and then put to our executive committee and the wider group to vote on early in the new year. It hasn't gone as quickly as we'd wanted, but that's really down to, I think, the challenges on all of us getting through this yet another COVID year, and we've had to prioritize. We have been advocates for one voice, and certainly when my energy levels get back up after the Christmas break, we're going to be even greater advocates for the one voice, because I think we've achieved, or not we've achieved, but the industry has achieved precisely nothing. I think the write-up from COP26, with the benefit of hindsight, looking back now, recognizes that what has shipping actually achieved? What did shipping actually achieve in COP26? Because we didn't have a single voice, and we didn't shout loud enough, and we weren't better prepared. So I think we have to be, and we have to keep rattling that cage. And I think one voice, and it doesn't have to be a single voice, it can be a collective voice, but we have to speak with one voice. We've spoken at many seminars, many conferences, flying the InterManager flag, which is really, really good. We've continued our cooperation with journalists on key issues. We're now chairing important committees in fellow organizations such as BIMCO, ICS, Nautical Institute. I'm all for that, but without losing our mandate, without diluting our relevance. And this is where the music must be played in relation to ship management issues. And yes, we can have representatives on these other bodies, but let's not dilute our relevance in doing that. But I think we're on the right path in that. We've added to our membership, we've added to our efforts in gaining new members. I've certainly not given, after a first flurry, not given enough thereafter, but as I said, back in the new year, renewed marketing drive, and I think actually our actions will speak louder than our words. And when we approach the likes of Captain Adami's association and others, they will hopefully be persuaded, Captain O again, to join us, because they will be persuaded that we are now relevant and serious about what we're doing, and that we have ambition and appetite. And I know there's a number of organizations which, when I do knock again on their doors, will be much more receptive to us. And we've set up new committees, and we haven't got the resources to set up many committees and perform much administrative work, and that's not what we want to do either. But we have a lot of unofficial committees on GDPR, on wind farm, on other issues which are relevant to our business, and encourage again, certainly the bigger members amongst us, when you have an important internal project such as ESG, sustainability, diversity, etc., then we should share that for the benefit of all of us. And certainly we Columbia are trying to do our bit as well. We can do better, and I'm always encourage them to do that. But there's others out there that need to shoulder some of that too. And nobody has a monopoly on good ideas or good initiatives, and we can still compete, but share some of these basics and grow as an organization. So I think as a year, as another COVID year, I think we've done well. I think we can do better, and next year, as I said, after a rest and new boost to our energy levels, we need to get cracking and finish off some of these projects, and also increase our membership still further. And the mandate from our annual general meeting was that we had that ambition and we had that appetite, and it's up to Kuba, myself, and the executive committee to actually deliver on the wish of the membership. So thank you very much for all your support, Kuba. Thank you for yours, and take the opportunity to wish all of you a fantastic Christmas period and all the very best for 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Delivered on time. So I'll just slot with my ideas here. So the next meeting will be on the 5th of January. So we will probably have more than just 2 weeks between the meetings. And there will be an announcement 1 week before with the schedule and everything. Next week on the 14th, which is Tuesday, we are hosting, or together with BIMCO and other associations, we are hosting a very interesting and important webinar on the Gulf of Guinea security. And that brings me to the subject where I went out and congratulated Danish Navy for their stand and support, actually, just delivering on what they promised. And I'm pretty sure you know what I'm talking about, the recent actions in Gulf of Guinea, where they were actually not faffing around. They went and they promised and they did and delivered. And they actually, Navy came back to us and said it's extremely important that shipping industry recognizes our actions, because we have been criticized by some journalists and so on and so forth. And hearing from you, seafarers and ship management, that our actions are actually welcomed, and it really lifted them up, and that's what I stood. And I went through BIMCO, and BIMCO was welcoming that as well. So that's all from me as far as the update is concerned. There will be obviously a vlog tomorrow when I'll do the update, but Mark did a superb job actually updating you on everything for the whole year, not just for this week. So
Can I just add one more thing, Kuba, before we
Sure.
get into the presentation? And I was contacted, I won't give names, but I was contacted by another large ship manager last week who said, look, will you join us in publicizing our support that ship managers should only employ now vaccinated crew, and that all crew should get vaccinated. And I said, as far as Columbia is concerned, that is not a position that we're going to take at this stage, because we don't think the debate has been sufficiently analysed and gone through yet. We're leaving this to individual choice, but we're encouraging all our seafarers to get vaccinated, and certainly new seafarers will not be taken on board unless they are vaccinated. But for existing seafarers, our position is encouragement. Now, I think InterManager should, and perhaps whilst we listen to the next to the presentation, I'd ask you all to think about that. What is our position on vaccination of seafarers? Because the industry, our charterers of our tonnage are more and more asking for fully vaccinated crews. And is InterManager going to take a position on that? Is our position that all crew should be vaccinated? And I personally believe that is the right decision on balance of the argument that I've seen. InterManager can make that sort of statement, and the membership can be behind that without sort of sticking their heads above the parapet and being sort of penalized, if you like, for that. That's one of the advantages of having an association like this. The association can take a view. Whether the members follow that or not is up to them. But you know, I think we as an association should take a stand on this. And you know, perhaps something to think about. And then Kuba, you can perhaps come back to us at the end and how whether this has to then go to XCOM or how we take a position on that, or whether we're prepared to take a position on that. But a number of managers have asked us to do just that. I think we don't want to be seen to be shirking the issue or wimping the issue. We take a stand on it. If it's not yet the right time, that's a decision. But we should take a position. We should take a position on this, I think.
Aye, Mark, I hear you loud and clear. I'll come back and I will also share some statistics with everyone. But now, without further ado, I know that Giampiero has a conflict in his calendar, so we better get on with the presentation. I don't know who's first, actually. Captain Adami, is it you who will set the scene? Okay, opening salvo from Eugen then.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, is it okay for me to speak or? Great. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to address your 60 minutes meeting today. Before going into our subject, I want to stress what Mark said is so very, very right, that the industry needs a proper joint voice. And the industry, from traditional ship owning and the traditional ship owning associations like the International Chamber of Shipping and the likes, is of course in a transition. We don't have any longer traditional ship owners like we had when those associations were formed. And there's a great concentration now of shipping activities within the ship management industry. And most likely when you look at the ship management industry, you will really realize it's bigger than the traditional ship owners. So InterManager is a dynamic association which can take this transition on board and become the voice for shipping and ship management in the years to come. Of course, lots of work is to be done. But as a ship owner myself, I would really recommend this. Okay, talking now today about our initiative. We have just a few minutes to introduce the idea, which is not a new idea, it's an old idea. Actually, me being also a ship manager 15 years ago, realized that in my ICT department, we were doing repeated work by populating our plant maintenance systems for our ships. Even when we took new buildings, sister new buildings from shipyards in Japan, we had to go through the pain to populate databases by taking instruction books and writing code from a book into data fields. And we did that repeatedly and we made mistakes. And I got so angry that I, 15 years ago, decided that this is not the right way to do. There should be a standard which allows manufacturers to deliver data so that ship managers and ship owners can import these data into their plant maintenance systems and have consistent and correct data from day one when they start with the ship in operation. That was my dream, and I set up a task force with key manufacturers and a few ship owners, and we didn't want to invent the egg. We looked at what aviation has done, and aviation has a brilliant standard for technical documentation in electronic format. The unfortunate thing that the standard has something like more than 5,000 pages, and it would be impossible for small manufacturers to implement. So the task was to downsize it to just a little bit more than 200 pages and get it agreed with the manufacturers. 15 years have passed. we have managed to get out of the baby shoes, and we passed also the kinder shoes. We have now the system delivered for more than 1,000 components on board of ships. And the Danish ship owners cluster has appreciated this standard and adopted this standard for their members. And today we wanted to introduce our idea to InterManager in the hope that InterManager as an association joins the Shipdex community to drive the standard forward, so that the standard addresses also specific needs of ship managers, allowing a real digital shipping world to emerge from the day we really join forces, the Shipdex community and the InterManager community. So it's an open invitation to all InterManager members, as well as the InterManager association itself, to look at the value and the value chain which can be developed out of it, and to decide after this presentation if you would like to have more information and decide to have deeper discussions, and hopefully we can join forces. And I would like now to pass on the floor to MAN, who have been from day one, one of the supporters of Shipdex, and they have implemented the standard on a lot of their projects with their customers. And I call them the champion of our Shipdex protocol. And Henrik Kaspersen has been the appointed person from MAN from day one, and he is the best expert to say from the horse's mouth how a maker and manufacturer is perceiving the standard.
Thank you very much. Just for logistic measures, Mr. Solzini, will you go next, or should I just continue as mentioned here?
No, I've signaled the board that I'm late of 10 minutes, so I'd like you to start first and then I'll go after. Thank you.
Great. I will just share my presentation.
Yes, Henrik, we can see it now.
Great. So first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity to share Main Energy Solutions' perspective on maintenance data. From our perspective, it's very clear that things are changing rapidly now. There's a big move away from paper and manual work and into smart solutions. And one driver, of course, is this increased internet connectivity coming from the various satellite programs. And the market talks about connected vessels, digital twin, and business integrations. And that's all about operational cost. They should go down, reliability should go up, and also safety, and in order to meet legislations. We see that the customer are investing massively in maintenance system and other IT systems. So the systematic maintenance and digital collaboration are in very strong focus, and we see a lot of communication and activities around these many systems to support this change. But no matter what system or platform is chosen, you can only harvest these benefits if the data behind are well structured and of good quality. And very often, maintenance systems are being filled manually with spare parts and maintenance information that we just heard in the introduction. And we have seen a number of cases where the quality could be a little bit better. The systems are doing a good job to enter data, but maybe they lack the deep maintenance experience as well as time. And data may therefore become incomplete, not uniform, and even wrong. And that makes it difficult to produce good forecasts and budgets. So lack of information may also affect the safety and reliability, and the communication between vessel and headquarters could also be negatively impacted. So this is here that data directly from makers come into the play. And the foundation of doing it right is to have this correct data in the maintenance system from the beginning. And for that, we absolutely recommend to import data from the makers into the maintenance system. because this will ensure that you have correct data up to the mark of the vendor, the OEM, and you will have the maintenance schedules and spares and everything connected to the task in this planned maintenance system. And we see these strong wishes to improve the maintenance quality and also to reduce the time, and that requires good data from the start. There are strong wishes from long-time planning, and that has also to do with saving transportation cost and not have return goods cases where you don't have the right spares on time when you are doing or planning the maintenance activity. So long-time planning is exactly the strength of these maintenance systems. But again, it is all about to have good data quality. And here we can talk about Shipdex as this member-driven standard for exchanging data between makers, our publishing systems, and the maintenance system on the ship owner sides. It is non-proprietary, non-profit, and has nothing to do with any specific company. So it is a global standard which can be adopted right away. So what can Shipdex then do? Yeah, traditionally, an advanced vessel with an advanced maintenance system is purchased, and then the time-consuming process starts to populate the database and connect all the resources to the tasks. And maybe some of you have been in this position where you have received a lot of manuals, trying to understand them and then create this structure in the maintenance system. And that is a task with will have several backdraws in terms of quality and time, and maybe there will be this lack of information. So when we give a look to the way documentation is produced in our case, and I guess that will go for many makers as well, that is that we have our maintenance schedule where we have a reference to the work cards. On the work cards, you have all the steps information, all the resources connected, and the resources are taken out of the spare part catalog. So everything is connected here, and our system is exactly built to deliver this granular data quality to the customers, where everything is connected. And in the end, it delivers a complete data set which can go into this maintenance system. The data is uniform, it allows for long-time planning, and it is such a shame when it's not being utilized. So Shipdex is exactly made to break this old way of working and ensure that data can be transported from any system on maker side and into any system on ship owner side, using this Shipdex protocol, which defines how does the data need to look like, so they can follow this path. And we can see that there are many systems in the market. The makers work in different ways with different systems, but it can all be connected together using this Shipdex standard. So what is then in the Shipdex package? If we give a closer look, we can see that there is one file or one database record for each assembly in the spare part catalog. Each file contains the illustration and all the available metadata for all the spares. And that means that the more metadata the maker can provide, the more this table is filled, and always in a standardized way. And there is also a product breakdown structure included, so which give a relation to the ship's breakdown structure, for instance, the SFI code. The spares here, they can be linked to the tasks, and in that way it is possible to run statistics and reports. And if you are connected to the ERP system, you can also do some cost calculations. And that is a really benefit of having the data as data ready for a database. You can do these calculations. And if we give a look to the maintenance information, we again find one file or one database record for each task. And we can see here that the tasks are grouped into intervals, so you can easily get an overview of what is in the package. And it's also in this way easy to identify and spot if a new task has been developed. And that could well be the case due to changed or updated components due to technological steps to meet environmental legislations, or maybe new requirements for carbon reductions. That will give rise to new tasks, and they can easily be found here in this kind of list. If we then move to the content, then we find the list of tools and supplies and spares. and they are all provided with quantity if it is possible. And there's also all about the safety precautions, all the measures to be taken to be on the safe side for the person and the equipment. And under each maintenance step, you can find the technical data, maybe some talks and ways to be sure to work in a safe way. And each step there will be a link to the instruction manual if you need more detailed information. And that means that if you print this work order, you only get a few pages out to handle, and yet it contains all the essentials of the job and gives reference to the manual. So that is a really good trade-off, that you get all the essentials in a very short printout or PDF file, but the safety is secured because you have all the core data here. So this could also be well suited for local onboard training of some new crew or to prepare for a larger upcoming job. In these last few slides, I have been showing how it looks like in the free Shipdex Viewer, and to do this in a very user-friendly way. This viewer is available on the Shipdex homepage together with some demo data sets, so you can get an overview of how does the data look like and get an idea of the structure and how things are interconnected and which kind of interactivity there is between the elements. So Shipdex is here, but what if your maintenance system is not already ready for Shipdex import? Then I would say do not postpone to request Shipdex data, because you will get the benefits of having these structured data and the standardized data, and you will have it right away. You can use this to feed your maintenance system more safely, more efficiently, and more uniformly out of this basis, instead of trying to understand these many different manuals one by one. And if you then use the Shipdex Viewer, then you have this easy access to the structure and the content of the dataset. So that will be easy to navigate to populate the database in a new way, on a better basis than before. And finally, request your software vendor to enable this Shipdex import as soon as possible. It can only go too slowly, because it will enable the whole basis for the future or the present digitalization. So to give a few figures to this, I can mention that we from our side have delivered 600 datasets already for 2-stroke and 4-stroke engines, genset propellers and turbochargers. And it is growing. There is a strong interest in the market, and we are very happy for that. So this strong interest, I see that as a core enabler of digitalization in the maritime industry. So my message would be, tune in your organization for smart data. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. And now, Giampiero, are you coming in?
Yes, I am. And Alec, I suppose you're still continuing to run your set of slides, including my slides, correct? After you unmute
a few seconds.
Sure. Well, I mean, I don't have to add that much compared to what Harry has stated. I've been in digitalization of ships since 1986, so that's 35 years. And one of the worst part of all of it has been the databases, and it has been one of the main failure, let's say, of computerized maintenance management systems, because it has added on a cost that nobody wanted to pay for, and which is basically the one of inserting data inside the software. Also, it has not allowed the ship owners or ship managers to move easily from one software to the other, whether because they wanted to move into a new system, or whether because they didn't like the supplier anymore, and so on. So it has basically forced the industry to get stuck with few software suppliers, none of whom have ever made enough money to to grow to a rock solid state. And whenever I heard people complaining about software like PMS, plant maintenance systems, 90% of the time we could convey the problems not into the software itself, but into the data. Because of course, if you have an engine and and you consider that it has probably 8,000 different data to insert, the possibility to make a mistake when digitizing, which means inserting the data manually, reading from a technical manual, is very high. And a normal bull carrier probably has 35,000 to 45,000 spares to be inserted. And again, they're all inserted manually. Fast forward from 1986 to 2021, and we're still doing the same thing. So of course, trying to do something in a much better way, in a standardized way, is very good. And it is also a must when you're basically trying to digitalize your fleet. Do I move my slides or no? You move your slides, of course, my slides. So go to the next one. I have only 5 slides anyway, so it's very, very quick.
I'm trying to shift take a little time.
It's okay, even though it's only five slides, Henrik. It's really very easy. So I called it here the elephant in the room because there are also two, the digitalization today is also inserted a new problem, which is data owning. So you remember this cover 4 years ago, everybody was big data, everybody was talking about data and so on. Well, one of the negative effects of all this, I was hoping for people to understand that data can be conveyed into very useful information. Instead, it has become sort of a money maker argument for a lot of manufacturers. And I must admit that I love MAN for what they're doing, because they're really trying to be innovative and cooperative with the industry. I've seen automation companies basically locking their data, which is not theirs, of course. It's owned by the ship owner, the ship manager, but locking them up and asking extortionate prices to open them up. So to read today a temperature, you have to pay, which is something that is totally against what we're trying to do. We're trying to utilize data in a correct and standardized form in order to extract information that will allow us to run the ships in a more efficient, cost-effective, and environmental friendly way. And it's not by basically hacking the ownership of the data that we're going to reach this stage, okay? But of course, the fact that we lack standardization, NEMEA, the bridge equipment manufacturer have been much smarter, let's say, than the engine part. They went into one standard, NEMEA 0183, and they opened it up, and it's impossible to lock it. I mean, nobody, not even one of them tries to lock it. But when you go down to the automation industry, to the engine management automation, essentially you find that you have 22 different protocols, even if 5 are very, very commonly used. And to get, commonalities of information, it's very, very difficult, as well as you have problems in getting commonality of information when you're looking into the technical manuals. You can move to the next one, Harry. So standardization is a must if you want to digitalize. Otherwise, you go berserk. You cannot really do anything valid in trying to connect the equipment with the computer and trying to get information out of it. And of course, here, this is very important, because so many times, especially when it comes to technical manuals, I've heard people saying, oh, we have all our manuals in PDF. That's not digitalization, that's digitization. And it has nothing to do, it's not valuable. You cannot really use it when you want to extrapolate data and make them very useful, such is the case of Shipdex. Okay? So digitalization is not one member of the crew typing data on an Excel spreadsheet. It should be totally automatic, because this way you avoid errors, you avoid mistakes, you have problems or pilfering or people forgetting about how things need to be done. And I go to the next one, and I think I have another 2. And yeah, so essentially, digitalization is something that can be processed by a computer. So whether you do it, for instance, a technical manual, which is printed out, you cannot do anything with it. With Shipdex, you can do everything you want with it. You can search it, you can analyze it, you can compare, you can transfer, you can move it from one software to the other. So it makes a complete different, ball game when it comes to the digitalization process. Next one. And that is when bringing back to data owning. You know, I don't think that any of you would accept that a manufacturer will give you an engine and then will say, well, you want even the technical manuals or the operation manuals, you have to give me another 100,000 euros. I've heard companies asking 50,000 euros to connect to their automation system. So you have to be very strong as ship owners, as ship managers, to say that the ownership of data is entirely within the ship owners, it's entirely within the ship managers, because you guys are the ones that if you stop the ship, there is no data. If if you leave the ship in the port for the next 22 years, there is no way you're going to extract any data out of the engine or the radar. So I don't understand why all of a sudden, if the ship is moving, the data becomes property of somebody else. So you really have to be strong. I know it's difficult now for the ships which are already in operation, but at least if you're building ships, you have to write down that data access must be completely free. And when it comes to standardization, Shipdex, as Henrik pointed out, has been created, is a subset of something which has been created by the aeronautical industry more than 40 years ago. So we lag behind the aeronautical industry of 40 years. They've been digitalizing their procedures, standardizing their procedures since over 40 years, because it makes life much simpler, but not only to us as an IT company. Of course, it makes it simpler, because for me, I can go now with a brand new software to ship owners and tell them, move over. It's going to take me 1 minute to move your database from old software to new software. But it makes it easy for ship managers and shipping companies, because it makes life completely different when you have everything standardized. Okay, that's it from me. I don't think I have anything else in my slides. That's it.
Excellent, thank you. And I've got 3 questions already for you guys. So first question is simple, I believe. Maybe we missed it from your presentation. Shipdex, is it planned maintenance ready? And what people mean here is AMOS, ABSN, NS, ShipNet, everybody will be able to talk to Shipdex? Okay.
The answer is yes.
Very good, thank you. Second, man hours. Can we actually see how many man hours is required for the task? Do manufacturers like Henrik, for example, provide some sort of a guidance, not only spare parts, but how many man hours required for particular task?
Yes, if it is part of the instruction manual today, seen over of our global activities, then they will also be part of the Shipdex delivery.
Very good. Now there is a tricky question. So what is stopping manufacturers from using it? We know that ship managers would not have a problem with it, I believe, but why manufacturers are, and obviously Giampiero probably answered that question because they sense there is money to be made. But why MAN is quite happy to be there and the others are not? Any idea, Henrik? What would you say?
As I mentioned, we see this digitalization coming from all directions, and to follow suit to that, we need to have the core data in place in a good and structured way. So that is there's no way around. We have to do it.
But MAN seemed to be the first one and the only one at the moment. Am I right? Or
no, actually not. You're not correct. Actually, WinGD, the other major two-stroke manufacturer, is Shipdex compliant. Yanmar in Japan is fully Shipdex compliant. MacGregor, Hägglund, Alfa Laval are able to do it as well. So ideally, Shipdex is not a product. It's just a set of rules which you have to follow in order to take your data and wrap the data in such a way that it can be imported into plant maintenance systems or simply negotiated with a free of charge Shipdex Viewer. So it's up to the makers to do it, and we have Furuno, who has delivered already complete data sets. Pump manufacturers, Gambardini has delivered complete data sets. So it is possible and it is done.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. I would like to open the floor. Anybody more questions, please? Anybody? Or maybe anybody with your experience, with Shipdex experience? Why not to go? Any devil's advocates here?
I can tell you that the difficulties in convincing manufacturers is because, of course, they have to change the way they write their documentation. And even if it is very easy, I mean, it is really easy to change. It's not complicated. It still is a change. And therefore, the manufacturers only do it if the ship owners want it. And the ship owners sometimes are very, distant from the idea of technical documentation. It's something that has no interest for them. Sorry, Captain Adami, you're a unique element. So, but I've been dealing with a lot of ship owners who don't really care about an issue. Of course, I even understand. You're building a $150 million ship, and all of a sudden come here this little idiot telling you, you should do your handbooks in a different way. And that is what has dragged everything along. It's coming out now simply because digitalization is making it almost a must, because now everybody's struggling. People talk about digitalization, they have no idea what it means, because it means that I have to hunt for every data on board of the ship in a different way, according to which kind of automation system I have. And I have to negotiate with Kongsberg, I have to negotiate with Samsung, I have to negotiate with Siemens, I have to negotiate with Honeywell every single time. And every single one of them has a different, one has OPC, one TCP/IP, one Modbus of the C type, the other one of the A type. And what happens is that what would cost zero should cost zero, all of a sudden, $4,000, $10,000. Then you multiply $10,000 for 200 ships. And what happens? Sorry, I got
Giampiero, you are becoming Cuba. Okay, you get very excited about that. But that's good. That's excellent. Thank you. But we've got questions coming. Duncan, you first, and then Marco.
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, Giampiero. Nice to see you again. Quick question for you. I can see all the major companies thinking about the digitization and encoding and importing. How do we persuade the companies manufacturing the PMS systems who have an income from creating databases to shift over to an automatic uptake?
Yeah, we have actually done this with a few plant maintenance manufacturers already. In my opening statement, I mentioned the Danish Maritime Cluster, and they had invited manufacturers as well as plant maintenance providers for a joint initiative to pave their roadmap for digitalization. And we had joint meetings, and it transpired that such a standard is necessary. And the plant maintenance manufacturers understood that they actually have to embrace such a standard because that is the only way how to get to ultimately reliable data. There is one thing which I would like to add here, and that is the more complex machinery which we are introducing on board of ships in order to become environmentally compliant. This needs to be done with proper training of the seafarers. And I think this is what a lot of companies now appreciate, that Shipdex is like S1000D, is fully SCORM compliant. So from the data what you have, you can make your own training videos, you can make your own training sessions, your own computer-based training, and you use the data of the engine which is installed on board of your vessel. And this is what is really helping you to get your crews acquainted with the ever more complex machinery they will face. It's like you can design a training for that specific vessel a chief engineer will embark on. And that's a huge plus, of course.
Thank you, Marco, and then Christos.
Thank you, Marco Vatteroni. I'm the person who developed the Shipdex protocol. I'm the technical manager inside the non-profit organization. I would like to add something about the question on makers. I had several meetings with ship makers to push them to become Shipdex compliant. And what I realized was that they have no or less interest to change their internal processes to become Shipdex compliant. And I always had this answer. If I don't receive many requests from my customers to provide them with Shipdex data, why I should change my process? So I say that because you, ship owner, ship manager, should require from your supplier to provide Shipdex data as a mandatory requirement. This happened some years ago. I was working with Mr. Soncini in Spectec. A big and important ship owner was building some new ships in China, and they wrote in the contract, all the technical manuals must be provided in Shipdex format, and the shipyard complied with this request. And all the data, I repeat, all the data, not the manual, and I will explain what I mean, were provided in Shipdex format. Some of them were directly from providers, McGregor, Alfa Laval, and so on. Some other, many other small suppliers sent Spectec their technical PDF manual that we converted into Shipdex at the format. At the end, the customer, the shipyard, the ship owner received all the information in Shipdex format. Why I say data? Because when we talk about, Henrik mentioned this concept, but in my opinion is the most important one. When we talk about data in Shipdex format, you should forget the concept of manual, a big file where data information are merged with the structure, chapters, paragraph, and so on, and with layout. Shipdex format allows you to receive data in a mandatory structure. This structure is mandatory for all makers, so you will receive electronic information in a standardized electronic format, XML, if you know XML. Once you receive data that have the same internal structure, without layout, without chapters structure, you can use this data several times for several purposes. For example, to navigate this data, as Henrik said, you can download from our website the free of charge Shipdex Viewer. That is a very powerful browser you can download right now with 2 Shipdex dataset demo. Please, sorry.
Yeah, Marco, because I'm conscious about the time, we've got Christos who may ask a question.
Okay,
so
okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, I just want to follow up on Duncan's question. Actually, the databases currently now are some coded very well, some the PMS databases, some coded badly, but let's say the Shipdex importer is connected to an existing customer database with existing components and parts. How do we, is there some kind of automation from the PMS system which replaces the existing components, or is that a manual process still of mapping the good Shipdex data to what was previously inserted into these databases?
Who would answer that question? Hands up. Everybody?
I can answer if you wish.
Yeah,
Marco,
Marco,
you have the titled one.
I think Giampiero should answer this one.
Giampiero, go for it, Giampiero.
Well, I think it's much more a technical thing than it is. Listen, the computerization of data is absolutely an easy part of what we're trying to do. So what is exactly the problem that you're trying to point out? Is that people will not do it in the right way? I don't understand.
Not the right way. I believe the way I view it is you have the existing data in the system which was badly coded. So bringing in this new data, you also have history. Will that remain there as the old history in the old format, or is there a way to tie them together? Maybe that's a better way to describe the question.
Yeah. Merging two systems, one before Shipdex and the other one after Shipdex, is different. I have to be honest and say that it is difficult, because Shipdex is a very precise and coordinated way to insert information so that it can be retrieved automatically. Whatever we were doing before, some databases were built very, very precisely for some companies who would afford the relevant price. Some other databases have been inserted by completely different companies. I'll give you an example. So a very large cruise company, they had 50 plus ships. All the databases were built by 50 different crews every single time they were delivering or building a ship. 50 ships, almost all of them identical, or at least divided in 4 classes. All the databases were different. When we had basically realign all the database, it cost them $4.5 million. $4.5 million. And you know, companies don't make much money on databases. We normally were making about 10%, 15%, which means that for 1 month, if the crew who is doing databases is without job, essentially you make zero money. Building databases is a time-consuming energy, waste of energy. Sorry.
Giampiero, I have to cut you guys off. I'm delighted that we've got that heated discussion, and this is being recorded, and I'm asking us to continue this discussion, but I'm unfortunately offline. I've got now 3 minutes to complete our meeting. So I would like to thank you, the team from Shipdex and Captain Adami, for bringing it. As you can see, it's very important for us. It created a lot of questions, probably the most questions we ever had. So delighted with that. Now, thank you. Coming back to the business of our 60-minute meeting, I promised to come back to the position on crew vaccination. And I would suggest, Mark, that basically I'll go back to all our members with a message. I've been talking to you all sort of offline, trying to gather how many seafarers have we actually vaccinated. And members of InterManager produced the data, not complete for me at the moment to produce some sort of a combined graphics, but we rate from 27% of seafarers to 66%. Industry average is around 41 to 47%. Now, the problem is that only good companies are actually keeping a record. So that is an issue for us. I am not sure that, obviously, members of InterManager would be the top managers in the world. So we would probably need to remember that our percentage is not what the industry is as a whole. But I'm more than happy to go back to all of you, asking this question and posing a question what is our position on vaccinating of the crew? Would that be something, Mark, you would be looking for as well? Over to you, and then we've got 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's the important thing is when we look at our own figures and we look at particularly the officers and crew from Eastern Europe, the vaccination rates are extremely low. And, you know, it's good for those individuals and it's good for the sector generally if we take a stand and state our position, because we have to encourage seafarers to get themselves vaccinated, because the industry is demanding fully vaccinated crews for all the right reasons. And therefore we shouldn't, you know, shy away from that statement. Now, if members themselves take a different view, then that's up to them. But it will really send a very clear message to those crew who are not clear as to what they should do, that InterManager supports this or doesn't, or its position is it's not yet sufficiently informed. You know, I think that's probably puts it as best we can. But thank you very much to Shipdex. Thanks to Captain Eugen for bringing this up. We look forward to Captain Eugen. We look forward to welcoming you as a member. And again, happy Christmas to all of you.
That's brilliant.
Merry Christmas. We talk later, Mark.
Yes. Kuba, send the application form.
Yeah, send it in. Markets are high.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. Ciao.
Indeed. Okay, guys, it is now 3 o'clock. Therefore, the guillotine is coming down. Famous guillotine. Thank you, and see you on the 5th of January.
Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas. New Year.
Bye. Merry Christmas.